Welcome to I Heart Geek.
Hey everybody, it's a new episode of I Heart Geek. I am your girl, Miss Geeky Page, Courtney, and joining me is Blythe and Tyler and Kevin, and we are going to talk about episode 2 and episode 3 of
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, we're talking about Obi-Wan.
No. We liked it so much. We're coming back for more.
We're doing it more again.
It's Marvel. What an amazing show.
All joking aside, we're actually going to be talking about Ms. Marvel, episode 2 and episode 3 of Ms. Marvel. We had a little snafu with all of our schedules last week, listeners, so we're sorry we have to double up on you, but we think you'll enjoy it anyways.
Too busy living life.
It is. Let's say hi to everybody. Hi, everybody. Blythe, how are you today?
Doing good. Last night, me and the fam went to go see Lightyear. Pretty late, so a little bit tired, but you know what? I'm excited for Miss Marvel. It's perked me right up this morning.
Tyler, how are we and what are we doing today?
Oh, we're doing good. Yes, I was
Excellent.
part of the reason we had snafus with the scheduling. Sorry, I was out in Vegas with those two folks right there. Courtney
Yep,
and
he was out
Blythe.
playing with us.
Yep. You know, being from the East Coast, it was a lot. So today we're just relaxing. Got a couple errands to run, and shows to talk about.
Excellent. Kevin, how are we this morning?
We're doing good. We're all energy drinked up. I worked late last night, so it's the early morning for me. But we're good. I'm ready. Today we got Forbidden Door, which I'm very excited. They were going to see Kitty Omega and Claudio. Boom. I got it in.
If our listeners don't know, and you do know, but if you don't know, Kevin is a huge wrestling guy. So this is his thing. But we're not talking about wrestling. We're talking about Miss Marvel. And let's get right into it. One thing I do want to say is, listeners, we share a Marco Polo channel where we all talk about these before we come and talk about them to you. My favorite polo from this series has been Kevin's daughter, River, coming into the polos going, I love Ms. Marvel.
Yeah.
And we're glad because I think we all love Ms. Marvel too. One thing I will say is it was announced today that Ms. Marvel has become the highest streamed Marvel show on Disney Plus.
Isn't that interesting? Wow.
It's the most in demand and it's the highest streamed. And I think that is a testament to how adorable this show is. So the second episode is called. It is. It's extremely wide reaching. It's doing a lot. It's doing a lot for the Desi and the Pakistani community, which is very, very cool. But as you said, Kevin, it's pretty wide reaching. I think it reaches, like, I'm loving this thing. We know Rivers, you guys are loving it. Rivers loving it. Kids are loving it. Highest streamed show on Marvel so far on Disney Plus. So that's pretty amazing. The first episode is called Crushed It. Second episode is Crushed It. Third episode is called Destined. There's a lot to unpack. Let's get into it. Let's do a quick overview of that second episode, which starts with the ramifications of what Kamala did at Avenger Con. So we see more of the Department of Damage Control, but we also see Kamala start really kind of getting into her powers. So let's just do a quick brief overview or thoughts on, guys. What did you guys think of this episode 2? I'm going to start with Kevin.
I enjoyed it. I just enjoyed this show in general. I love where it's going. I love how it's not giving us a lot of answers. We do need an exposition show later on. But right now it's just been piece after piece after piece. And I just love what they're building here, you know? Bruno's a great character. He is her little sci-fi technology nerd guy. And every good superhero needs one.
Man in the chair.
I enjoyed it. I like the mystery about what her whole family is doing right now.
Tyler, how thoughts of that second episode?
You know, it was a fun episode. It wasn't, I mean, there was some serious developments, but it wasn't super heavy. It was more just her coming into her powers, and I thought that was fun. The whole sequence of her on the roof and everything, just kind of throwing out the stepping stones and stuff, which looked like it might have been inspired by the game he was playing on his cell phone earlier on in the episode. Because you saw a very similar thing happening, and it was nice just to see her kind of playing with that and getting better and better. And then of course, Bruno, where you're getting a lot more of that, lovesick puppy dog kind of vibe out of him. And then he gets the death blow of you got to go to Caltech and leave her behind. He's like, you got this new guy showing up, no way. I can't go anywhere. But yeah, it's and then obviously more of that comes later on. Introducing the new character too, Cameron. That was that was kind of fun. It kept calling Bruno Bryan, and it's clear that right off the bat she's like, oh, okay, here's my guy. She got that crush going on. Cameron, he's pretty much right out of the comics. I'm hoping later on we see him do his whole translucent powers set that he's got going on. Get that look to him. That's going to be interesting how they do that. One thing I will say, we have QR codes throughout these episodes. If you spot them,
Tyler is our QR code.
Yep, and all 3 episodes so far, if you'll allow me. Episode 1,
absolutely,
in the store after school, there was a QR code on the wall. It led you to Miss Marvel, number 1. In this episode 2, in the hallway of the school, there was a QR code on the wall that took you to Miss Marvel 15, where Cameron is a prominent, character. And then in episode 3, there was also in her room another QR code that led you to Magnificent Miss Marvel number 1. So keep an eye out for those.
That's a really good catch, Tyler. I did not catch that, so I'm glad that you caught it and let us know. That's pretty great. I think that's a great tool that they've started. We mentioned they started incorporating it into Moon Knight, and I'm glad they're kind of keeping it here because it's a fun little Easter egg. And like I said, I completely missed it, so thank you for catching it, letting us know about it. One thing I was going to touch on is this is definitely, they're introducing Cameron in this episode, and we see him also in episode 3. And he has powers, they are inhuman granted powers in the comic book. So it'll be interesting to see if we see them in this season of Miss Marvel, which I think we probably will, and where they come from, because we're going to talk about it in this episode. I think Blythe and I are still on the same page that we were as to where the powers come from, but we look like we're in the minority if you do research on where all of the other people are thinking the powers are coming from. Maybe. But before we jump into that,
I have thoughts on that.
Right. We'll jump on into that, but I want to get Blythe's thought on episode 2 and even episode 3.
Episode 2 was great. Both episodes have been great. The whole show, the theory crafting behind it, just kind of excuse me. Episode 2 with the training montage. Who doesn't like a good training montage? And like Tyler said, they did a really good job of showing what that would kind of look like through the eyes of someone that age. Like, you have this power where you basically are able to make things show up. That's just your kind of mind is creating. And why wouldn't you do it like a video game, right? Like a video game that you're familiar with. So this is how this player travels in this game. You're like, oh, that makes sense for this power, and you do it in real life. I will say that I had a moment in the second episode where I was just cringing, and that's the moment where she's saving the kid.
Yeah.
And then she starts showboating, and it's like, he's not
it's like the kid's right there.
Yeah.
Grab his hand. Roll over to you. What are you doing, kid?
Just get him over to safety,
grab
and
him.
then do your poses.
1 foot.
Oh man, you just knew it was coming, and I was just like, oh, come on, man. And then we episode 3, we have the introduction of the Jinn, or the clandestines, or whatever you want to call them,
dip into in just a second.
And also just the kind of the revelation that Bruno's going to Caltech, and her now having to deal with that, and just we're getting like you guys said, we're getting a lot of pieces to a lot of different things. So yeah, we think next episode, hopefully the next episode, we get like a good solid like flashback scene where we get a good amount of exposition as to what's going on.
It's coming.
So the last two episodes, because it's 6, right? So the last 2 episodes,
6 episodes
we can be all wrap up.
Yeah. So before we jump into the meat of it with, the gin and the clandestine and all of that good stuff, some stuff that I thought, yes, I kind of agree with you guys on that whole cringe moment where it's like, just grab him, just grab the kid, save him, come on, you can do this. But I will
she's
say,
a teenager.
Exactly, that's the thing. She's a teenager. She now all of a sudden has all these people's eyes on her. And she, she's got to stick the superhero pose, which I thought was very cute the way that they did it. Because she's like, oh, look at me. This is my superhero pose.
What a poser.
Superhero pose
exactly.
was like done beautifully because it was done from a person that's like been wanting to do it their entire life. So she kind of like, it was just really
and her smile when she stuck it was just beautiful. I will say that the training, and this is going to make me old as usual, but the training montage made me feel a bit like The Greatest American Hero. For the listeners who don't know what that is, it was a TV show in the 80s, and it was a everyday guy was gifted a suit of like a Superman suit that gave him Superman powers, and he literally had no idea how to work them most of the time, and he would fly into the wall and he would just not be good. So the training montage kind of felt a little bit like that. I don't know if it was intentional or if it was just me feeling that way. The other really fun thing that I really loved about both episodes was the Bollywood influence to it, because they talk about it, the Cameron and Kamala, when they're in they bond over the love of Bollywood movies and some of the, great Bollywood stars, which one of them we will mention is an Eternal. Kingo, which, he's not. SRK is Shah Rukh Khan for people who don't know, and he's one of Bollywood's greatest heroes. In fact, he played in a Bollywood movie called Ravan, which is pretty much a Bollywood takeoff of Iron Man, and it's quite good. And then of course there's the dance number at the wedding, which is just straight out of a Bollywood movie. But when she starts singing and dancing around the house after meeting Cameron, that's also kind of a Bollywood nod as well, because a lot of Bollywood movies are musicals, and so they just kind of randomly start singing and dancing, which is really cute. So I love the Bollywood flair. It's really leaning heavily on the Desi and the Pakistani culture, and I absolutely adore it. Kevin.
So here's the thing about that. I love that too. So with people, like I know sometimes people give like a hard time, and it's like, oh, well, why are we leaning so far heavily in that, or why? Well, one of the reasons why the show is so popular right now is the largest demographics in the world. The United States is number 3. Number 2 is India. Number 1 is China. And then I think it's like number 4 or 5 is actually Pakistan. So it's like some of the largest demographics in the world right now we're actually hitting, which is not the US. So I appreciate it. I love the culture they're showing. They're doing it in like the best way possible. I've traveled around, and it's so funny to watch the interactions between how they say auntie every time and uncle, and that's actually real. Whenever I traveled, it was all the Uncle Money Room or auntie. It was the same thing. And just the relationship. I really appreciate how heavily they're leaning into it.
And I think that's a strength of this show too. They're the balance that they're doing, because they can lean into it, but it's not just so saturated to where you're like, am I even watching a Marvel thing?
Exactly.
Like they're balancing it just right where they're including it, but yet you do realize like, and I was thinking about it last night, like this show feels way more comic book than a lot of everything what we've gotten recently.
The colors, everything.
Yeah, just with the colors and the way they use the sets and the lighting and just all the things, and the structure of it and stuff. It really feels very comic book, where like Moon Knight was like an awesome dark movie, or you know what I mean. Yeah, so I
Absolutely.
think the
Yeah.
balance is real good, and I'm liking how they're using, all those aspects.
And for a
The
show,
Illuminantes had me rolling.
yeah. The Illuminati. Well, and for a show that I, for one, was not excited about.
Yeah.
I was happy because I knew my daughter was gonna like it. It really, the young girl superhero. But I was not excited about the show. And as much as it has pulled me in, and actually, like you said, it feels like an actual comic book. You're watching a comic book. I just think it's beautifully done. Every time, after every episode of the show, I sit back and I'm like, man, this is a beautiful show. Everything about it, it's a beautiful show. You know,
we thought it was going to be Marvel Degrassi, and it ended up being a little more.
That's not. Yeah. It's wonderful in that aspect, and it's pulling in a lot of people, clearly because it's the highest streamed show, so it's hitting all that stuff. And so let's use this to kind of segue into the meat of these two episodes, and we're going to kind of discuss them as like one giant episode, and that's just because we're doing two episodes in an episode, so sorry about that, listeners. What I also enjoy about this is there are, when they talk about the things that have happened in the past, when they talk about the partition, which for listeners who don't know is the separation of Pakistan from India, and also from the British rule ending in India, because that's a fairly recent event. So that's part of what that is right there. That's what the partition is when it kind of, they pulled out. There's real world consequences. So it's not, they don't kind of sugarcoat it in this where they talk about, okay, this happened and then everything was lovely. And no, especially in the tomb scene when they find the bangle, the bracelet, the characters, which we now know to be jinn, or the clandestine, or the unseen, which I'm sure Blythe will tell us the significance of the unseen, which they're mentioned, on how it ties back to possibly what if. We learn that, okay, well, these are the things, there's no sugarcoating. It's not Indiana Jones. It's like, here's what happened, this is where we're at, and this is what we've got. So let's talk about that scene in particular, because there's a lot of stuff in there. Some stuff I've seen people have noticed and others seem to have missed. So let's talk about it. I'm going to head over to Blythe and let him talk about the temple scene, because there's some stuff in there. Blythe, take it away.
So yeah, the temple scene seemed to be like our biggest hint as to what is going on with the bangle and with the kind of the roots of her powers and everything like that. There was a couple things. So we open up to the temple scene, and right away you see the 10 rings. So this was the prominent like visual stand-in for the Mandarin. That sign is his sign of him conquering basically the whole known world while he was in power. So that temple is his temple, because I believe the 10 rings sigil was created by him. So whatever he was doing, or his maybe it was one of his sanctuaries, or whatever the case may be, in the Pakistan area or in the India area, because like I said, he was conquering the world at some point. So it's safe to say that he had outposts all over the world. In there, we also see when they find the bangle, it's on a blue arm. A blue arm that doesn't look to have decomposed, which it's safe to say that it's probably of Kree origin. In the MCU, we know that the Kree are the creators of the Inhumans. If you go back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where the Kree were highly used in that show. So yeah, it's my thought, and I know it's Courtney's and your guys, maybe your guys' too. I know Tyler did a nice little research dump before we went to this episode, so he may have some thoughts. But it's looking like it's going to be Kree, and it's going to be tied to the Inhumans, and that's where the powers are going to come from. Whether the bangle is some form of Terrigen crystal or uses Terrigen energy, and that's how the powers are unlocked, and it's in her blood because her was her great grandmother was the one that used it,
Aisha,
during the partition. So yeah, we will see, but that's what I'm thinking. That's where I'm at with it. I know we had some mentions of the Eternals, but I don't see it going that way.
Yeah, everything that I've read and when I've done my little researching, everybody seems to think that it's going to end up being Eternals tech. But I'm with Blythe. I think that's a bait and switch, because there is mention of the Eternals throughout. There's little things throughout. Like I said in episode 2, we hear Kingo mentioned a couple of times. And then we see things that kind of lead us to the Eternals, but I honestly believe that we're looking at something that is going to be Inhumans tech in a way. And it's because of the reasons that we talked about before, where Marvel seems to be trying to bring the Inhumans back into the Marvel universe from that terrible TV show. Kevin, what do you got for me?
So Tyler kind of mentioned it earlier about Kamran being part of the Inhumans as well. So
Inhumans,
So my thought is that the Jinn or whatever the Klonenstein or however they actually are that group. They're all about the same age. They're all about the same thing. But what they've done is they've adopted Kamran, and now they're trying to take Kamala because they are Inhumans, because they're trying to unlock this thing. And that's why there's a split. There's a split here. What's going to wind up happening is that we're gonna wind up seeing that it's actually Kamran is not a Klonenstein. He is actually also an Inhuman, which is going to tie everything back together.
And piggybacking on that, and disagree with me all you want, guys, because that's what makes this super fun. If Cameron is an Inhuman, which we believe that he is an Inhuman, based on it, we don't know for sure that he's actually the son of Sana.
Yeah,
he's just been told he's the son of Sana. So it's very possible, because they've been trying to get home for however many thousands of years. He's an Inhuman. In the comic books, he has this light power, this light bending power. Nor, we know, means light. They're trying to get back to the Nor dimension. Maybe they adopted him or kidnapped him or took him or whatever to try to use him to open that door, the same way that they're trying to use Kamala and the Bangle. So I mean, it's very possible, and I feel that they're probably going to team them up. Because they've already done a little bit of it in this, where he kind of goes against them to protect Kamala. Yeah. So I think we are honestly seeing the Inhumans. So let's talk a little bit about the Jinn. And I will say, I do not think she is a Jinn. But there's a couple of reasons. One, I just don't think it works with the way that they're setting up her story. But also there is a very important factor with the character actually being a Muslim girl as well, I feel Marvel won't make her a Jinn. But we'll talk about that in a second. So let's do a little deep dive. They are, in fact, the Jinn are actually in Marvel characters. They're known as the clandestine. Sana also says that they're referred to as the unseen. And for those who don't know that deep dive, the unseen are actually, they are the same thing, but they are also a race of characters that can go under the radar of the Watcher. So the Watcher cannot see them. That's why they're referred to as the unseen. So there's our little tie back to What If, because they can exist, but they're not seen by the Watcher, who in all intents and purposes can see everything, can't see them. So that could be why they've been allowed to kind of function as long as they have throughout the history of the world and not be seen by the watcher and be punished for being somewhere that they're not.
And I think there was might even have been like a deep cut nod to the Jinn and the clandestines and all that, and the formation thereof. In the little Jinn family, I guess we'll call them Jinn or clandestine. Adam is the one kind of smart aleck dude listening to the iPod and stuff in the family, and they're like, he latches on to the dumbest parts of humanity, you know. He also says, well, this is my house and this and that at some point and stuff. And Adam may very well be a nod to like Adam of Ravenclaw, who ends up falling in love. He in the Middle Ages falls in love with a Jinn, and their descendants become the clandestines
in the comics. Yeah,
in the
thanks for bringing that up.
Know? And so I'm not wondering if that was kind of a nod to that, which would be kind of cool. Like, nice little deep cut reference there. Also, would that make them Jinn or the descendants who are the clandestines? I'm leaning towards they're the clandestines. So we'll see. And I also think that there's a lot of nods to maybe Marvel taking some liberties here, and there's a lot of Kree hybrid type stuff going on. Not so much. I don't think it involves Eternals at all. I think Ten Rings, the Bengals, all that's Kree tech. I think there's a lot of clues, or at least a lot of hints or nods towards that. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I very much agree with that.
I think we have solved. I know everybody's kind of jumping around right now throughout all of the internet, but like I really feel strongly about our theory here is that we're actually talking about two different groups, that they're not actually Miss Marvel and Kamran are not clandestine. There actually are Inhumans. I feel very very strongly on.
Yeah, it's kind of implied that Sana tells Kamala that she's a Jinn, but I don't believe she is. I think it's just a bait and switch. I think it was a situation where she knows she needs this young girl and her power to give her what she wants. So she brings her into their family, going, okay, well, you're one of us. She's not. She's absolutely not. And I mean, on the cultural side of it, I will say that for Muslims, followers of the Quran, it is forbidden to worship or believe in jinn. And so that's a big cultural clash that Marvel would have if they ended up making their first Muslim superhero a jinn. So that's why I think it's not happening. I think it's there to kind of put that in the mind. One other thing I will say too is in the comics, the clandestine, the Jinn, they have lots of run-ins in dealing with the Fantastic Four. So that's another way of bringing in even more of the universe. And they also have a lot of dealings with the X-Men. So we have two other huge character houses that these clandestine characters fight with constantly throughout.
Now we would need the X-Men before we get Inhumans, though, wouldn't we?
Like, we already have the Inhumans. In all actuality, we already have the Inhumans, because while the TV show is terrible, it's out there, and it's it's canon now. Whether
I have a block on that because it looks so bad.
Don't we all? Whether we keep that group of Inhumans, whether when they get introduced back, which I think is absolutely happening, they keep that set of actors and they don't recast it, and they don't just kind of scrap that as a multiverse thing and then start over, is to be seen. I think for sure we're going to get the same Black Bolt, only because we got him in Multiverse of Madness. So we have the Inhumans already. Yeah, I mean, he's a good Black Bolt. We already have the Inhumans, so this is an easy one to start dropping in. Yeah. We only have my brain stopped. I'm sorry, guys. We only have Reed Richards so far from the Fantastic Four having been introduced
Mhm.
in multiverse, and we don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Blaze, because you're probably better at this than knowledge wise. I don't think we've technically, with the exception of Professor X, been introduced to any of the X-Men thus far, technically in the MCU. Am I right on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there's been little hints at people being mutants or having mutant abilities, but you also could write those off as being Inhumans. I mean, technically, we had Quicksilver,
I was gonna say Quicksilver. Yeah.
Yeah.
which could still be Quicksilver. We don't know.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a lot. You also have the Inhumans from Agents of Shield. So you have
Mhm.
Quake. We have Quake in the universe. She was a prominent Inhuman. You also
Mhm.
had little like hubs of Inhumans from that show that they introduced. They introduced Yo-Yo, which I'm not sure if she died or not in that show, but yeah, there's a lot that they can do with the kind of seeds that they're planting all over. So you've got Inhumans, you've got ties to the Fantastic Four, you've got ties to the X-Men. Even saying the word unseen, that was a huge plot point in the comics for the original Nick Fury. The original Nick Fury was a character called the Unseen, which was basically like the Watchers. For a while, he was like the Watchers little like plant in the universe. So the Unseen could see all the things that the Watcher could see, but he could also intervene. And the Watcher says he doesn't intervene. He doesn't like to. So he would send the original Nick Fury out in this comic book line called Original Sin, where they were digging into like the dark past of all the heroes. So like he whispered something in Thor's ear, and immediately Mjolnir dropped out of Thor's hand and he was no longer worthy. So for a long time, people were like, well, what did he tell Thor to make him feel like he was unworthy of being Thor anymore? So there's a lot of little seeds that they're planting, and I don't necessarily know. I don't think they'll use all of them, but it's giving them the opportunity to do so much with it, which is a great part about the show that we've talked about quite a bit on the Marco, is just like there's actual mystery behind it, right? So it's not the show that we can just look towards the next episode and like we know what's going to happen. Like we have a feeling, we can theory craft all we want, but we have a good understanding of what's going on. This show, because they're taking liberties with the comics, is very much fresh in the fact that we don't know what's going to happen. They could go one of 10 different routes that they're planning, and that's what's beautiful about it.
Let me throw this at you then, to talk about them taking liberties and stuff. Is it possible that the Bengals are their version of the Negabands?
That's what I had read as well. So I'm glad you brought that up.
That would link a lot of the Captain Marvel. It's very Captain Marvel Kree heavy at this point, you know. So I mean, that would kind of just be another thing.
Yeah, it could be very much so.
There's that, and then there's also when that first scene, we were like, what the heck was that? When she got her powers, she fell back into the some people were like, oh, maybe that's the Nord dimension, that they talked about. Other people were like, maybe that was the negative zone, that would also kind of connect all that. If Captain Marvel get powers derived from such a thing. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of clues pointing towards the Kree, which would kind of make sense. I mean, because we're gonna need the Marvels eventually, and if all this is kind of leading up to a Kree invasion that's gonna be fought off or something, we got secret invasion or whatever coming up. And that could all kind of lead us to the Marvels, fighting off that Kree invasion or whatever. It's a lot of clues, but we need exposition.
I really think that the next episode is going to be a heavy exposition. They've already said they're going to be going to her, I guess it's her grandmother,
Yeah, they're going to be going to.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
going to Karachi. They're actually going to
They're
go to
gonna-
I think
Karachi.
that's where the second band is, I think.
She's gonna wind up talking to her mom, telling her mom's like, you know what? If this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. We're going to Karachi. Like, it's gonna be like that moment of like mother-daughter, and where her daughter is gonna see her mother in a different light, and the same way. It's like, okay, well, I'm behind you. This is what we're doing. We're going for it. They go to Karachi. And I really think this next episode is gonna be the heavy exposition show, and I'm here for it. And I love that. I didn't even think about the nega bands.
Yeah, the
that's
nega
such
bands.
a good,
And
good.
if they
good
go to
cut.
Karachi, grandma doesn't know she has the bangle and she's using powers and stuff like that yet, right? I mean, maybe grandma's like, well,
No.
I have the other one,
Yeah.
just kind of, here you go. And that's
Yeah.
how she gets both of them.
Now,
Well,
in
one
the
thing that's
comics, Kamala only has one band. She does not have two.
That's in the comics.
So yeah, in the
This is
comics, she
Marvel.
only has one, but she could very well have the second one, and it could be a nega band. That could definitely,
If
absolutely
they
be
go that route,
the case.
they can take
Now,
their liberties.
I love Kevin's thought about mom being supportive. I think mom knows more than she's letting on to it. Now,
Yeah.
whether she herself put on the bangle at some point in time, I don't know, but I think she knows what it can do. I think she knows what it did to her grandmother, who is Aisha, who's the great grandmother, who is the one in the temple that actually found it, put it on. But I think maybe this episode we're going to get to see some more of that come out, because mom knows more than she's letting on. And I think she's actually, and I think that's really brought home in the scene when after the wedding, which we will talk about, the fight scene in the wedding, when she walks into the house and mom is like, did you pull it? What's going on? You can see in her face that she wants her to tell her that she put that bangle on and that she knows.
Yeah.
And I mean, perhaps mom even knows, because everything that we've been told in these first 3 episodes is that the power doesn't come from the bangle. The power comes from inside her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it comes from inside her. It's very possible mom knows that's there. Why wouldn't mom have the same kind of power too?
Mom's also inhuman. It's a family gene.
Yeah, but it's obviously something that's been passed down. And I personally like that. I like that they're keeping me guessing about what mom knows and how mom is going to come into play.
Beautiful show.
Do we
Beautiful
know? Do we know that the great grandmother's power was the same as Kamala's? Have they straight out said? So that's another thing too, is that with the Inhumans, even if you're inhuman by like genetically by family, your powers aren't the same.
Yep.
If this bangle is a Terrigen crystal or has some sort of Terrigen properties in it, it could be that the powers are different. Maybe the grandma put it on and turned into a horrible like lava monster or something, and that's why she's
we still don't
scared of it.
know what she did to forsake or disrespect, the family
And
line and stuff.
and Kamala's mom, like only her superpower is like making like a mean roti and curry. Like she's like,
Right.
That's my superpower. That's all I got.
And another thing that kind of lends itself to this divide too is when it's the scene before the wedding, and she's talking, Kamala's mom is talking to one of the aunties, and she's talking about her mother so grandma Nani didn't come to her wedding. Why didn't she come to the wedding? Why? What was the problem there?
Yeah.
And maybe it's because she wanted her to marry someone who was inhuman, and she didn't. I mean, there's a lot going on in those interpersonal relationships that have to do with the bangle and the power set and the jinn that we're not being given yet. And I, for one, am totally here for it, and I cannot wait to see. I think mom's going to play a very, very important role, and we've not seen it yet.
Yeah, and that's the way Indian families are too. Is that whole the hierarchy of like, no, you have to do what I say because I am your high. And I just this show reminds me of just such a good show.
Yeah, and then with the whole Kree invasion and everything, the 10 rings sent off a beacon somewhere, we saw in the end credit scenes, and then when she put on the bangle, they that was a signal sent out.
Yeah, Sana even says it. She says, we didn't even know about you until.
Are the ones, maybe the Kree are receiving that signal, and that's where we start getting that invasion and everything.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason I think we're looking at Inhumans, because in the 10 Rings, Captain Marvel says that she does not know what kind of tech it is, and she doesn't know. And the thing is we have to remember that Captain Marvel, Carol, was trained by the Kree for the longest time until she got her memory back. So I mean, why would she not recognize Kree tech? And so that's why I think it's leading us in the direction of the Inhumans. So I think it's rad. Now I want to talk about two things before we shut this show down. One, I want to talk about, we're slowly getting pieces of her new costume. Because Bruno gives her mask. So we know that at some point in time, the costume is coming. Maybe the rest of it is coming from Grandma. Maybe the rest of it's coming from Nanny, because Miss Marvel's costume in the comic books, and we know that Iman Vellari is going to wear it because we've seen the promo pictures that she's got the complete outfit. It is very traditional Pakistani garb mixed in with that superhero garb. In that scene where she's looking at her mask, I do think we also need to touch on the great quote that we are given by Sheikh Abdullah, which comes straight from the comics, straight from her comics, where she says, "How do you do good?" And he says, "You aren't. It's not something you are.
Not a thing you are.
It's something you do." So this is another great thing that we've got with these TV shows that they're giving us. There's always that wonderful quote that hits home every single time in at least one or two of them. So I love that we're piecing her costume together a little bit at a time. We've got the bangle, now we've got the mask. Let's get the rest of it in here, and let's really get her into the MCU.
Very Clark Kent. Let me just throw this over my eyes. You don't know me who I am.
Exactly.
I need a little more.
So let's talk about the wedding and that fabulous fight where she's getting more and more into her powers, and she's fighting to Bon Jovi music.
Oh, that was so great.
So
they should have leaned into that Bon Jovi montage way more than they did. That would have been amazing.
The name of the cover band had me rolling too.
Brown Jovi.
Brown Jovi.
Brown
so
Jovi.
Fun. That was so fun. So
music's great in the show.
The music is really wonderful. It's a nice mix of Pakistani rock and indie rock and hip hop, and then American stuff. It's very good. It's a nice mixing of cultures, just like she is.
I can see myself listening to this on the job site. I think I'm gonna have a new job site mix. The Miss Marvel.
Excellent.
Miss Marvel soundtrack.
Right. Excellent. Blaze, what are your thoughts on that great fight scene that we finally got at the end of episode 3?
So it was it was really well done. The Bon Jovi mix and doing all that. It was interesting to see the clandestines, what the weapons that they were using. This was another part where it had me questioning the whole Eternals angle, because their weapons just kind of like manifested. So like I had like the thing on his chest and he like hit it and then brought it out, and then it turned into like a mace or something like that. And then the one guy, it looked like he almost had like a belt or something.
Yeah, he took his belt off, and then it was a whip.
Yeah. So that was very reminiscent to kind of how the Eternals weapons, it wasn't exactly how they were, because they weren't as like glowing with like that gold glow, but it was very reminiscent about how their weapons kind of materialized when they brought them into existence.
The fight itself was very Jurassic Park in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, enjoyed that too.
Yeah.
Kev? Go ahead.
It was great. No, it was I mean, we finally got a good fight scene in this, which is a testament to the show too, because really we've only had one really good fight scene in 3 episodes, and it's kept our attention. Yeah, no, I'm here for it.
We finally got to see her big fist, which is
Yes.
which is a staple
had me
in
worried.
the comics.
Yeah, she was doing so much defensive stuff. I'm like, is she going to use some offense here? What's up?
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
Bruno came in because Bruno's the man. He's going to stick up for his girl.
Yeah.
And she wasn't having that. So, yep, that was nice to see some offense finally come out of that.
Small and her Scooby Gang.
Seeing the fist was a very good showing of why they didn't stick to her original powers in the comics.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Visually, this looks so much better than what I can imagine they try to do if they just did her original power of being able to like stretch and manipulate her anatomy and stuff like that. So, I mean, we still may get it eventually if the
maybe shrinking or blowing up.
Yeah, if the bangle breaks and she has a moment where she's like, oh, I don't have powers anymore because the bangle's destroyed or whatever, but then she realizes that
power was inside you the whole time.
Exactly. If we get one of those little tropes in there, then we may get it, but I really think that this is visually a very much better way to go than trying to do the whole big fist thing in live action. Plus we've got Reed Richards coming in soon, which is essentially going to be the same type of thing. But she's not as rubbery as he is, but it's just
and we've said it before, I think we mentioned in the last show, that is essentially why they changed her power, because her powers are exactly the same. It's just how they manifest now in here as opposed to the way they do in the comic books. And it's because we're getting Reed, and the way they look visually are so similar. So they wanted the differentiation between it. And you know, I know there were lots of hardcore fans out there who are like, oh, I don't like this idea, this isn't good. I was a little skeptical too, because I do enjoy her power set the way it is in the comic books, but I agree with Blythe completely. This is turning out to be a great substitute for that, especially this fight scene where she's got the big fist, but it's just so visually cool because it's that crystallized kind of look and feel to it. So I really dig that a lot. So all right, guys, that's a show. Let's do our grades, but also I would like to see what is everybody kind of hoping for in the next couple of episodes that we're getting. So give me that, and then give me your grades, and then we'll go from there. So let me start with Tyler on our scale of A to F. What's our grade for this episode, and what are you hoping to see next couple episodes?
You know, episode 2, you know, I'm gonna put both of them at a nice B. You know, I just think that they balanced really well. They gave us just enough to not know what's going on, but we know that we're possibly pointing in, you know, a certain direction. And you know, we love, outside of recording, we love to speculate. Boy, do we love to throw out speculation, and this show's it's helping with that, and I like that. That, and it's just like I said, they've just been balancing everything so well. It's like watching a comic book, yet we're including things we've never seen before. And I said it a bunch on the last episode. It's refreshing, and I enjoy that. So yeah, I'm gonna put both episodes at a solid B. What I want to see is more of her brother's fiance, his new wife, her little brother running around in that Hulk outfit again.
Because in the Hulk costume.
He was running around. He's even doing the Bollywood dancing
in the dance scene
in the Hulk costume
yep.
like the mom had made earlier on. That was so great.
Very cool. Very awesome.
But we need more clues, or we need answers. We need solid answers. So yeah, I want to get it.
Kevin, what's our grade, and what are you hoping to see?
So for as much stuff and grief I have been given over the past 6 weeks over my hatred for Obi-Wan, and everybody's saying I am too negative. I absolutely love this show. It's an A right now.
Oh,
And
great.
People were giving me such a hard time for how much I was hating on Obi-Wan. I'm like, guys, I'm the most positive person here. I'm serious. I love this show.
I don't know. I'm pretty
so
positive.
Oh, it's just because you're wrong.
He's
I,
really at the moment wearing a Star Wars T-shirt for all of our
Yes!
listeners.
Yeah.
I know this is an Obi-Wan show, but no, I love this show. It's right now it's an A for me. Next episode, I need some exposition though. They've given me everything. They've given me enough puzzle pieces. I think this next episode we are going to get exposition. I think the hero. We didn't even talk about them. They kidnapped the villains. The whole government agency. I actually think those are good guys. And that we're going to wind up finding that out, and they're going to wind up helping Miss Marvel. I think that's coming too. Because obviously the bad guys are going to break out. So I want to see some exposition this next episode. I need exposition. And then, I'm just here for the ride. I'm having so much fun with this show.
Liz, how about you?
So last time I gave it a B. I am going to raise my grade up to a B plus. I'm not there with the A yet, just because like Kevin said, we need exposition.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want some resolution to all this, and I don't want to see them give a lot of resolution in the movie. Like, I hope this isn't just a big foreshadowing cliffhanger for the movie to come. Like, I want this to be a contained story within her universe and what she's got going on, and just we finish off the story, and then we see her as a more grown hero in Miss Marvel's, where she could stand her own with Carol Danvers and with Monica Rambeau. So B plus for sure. It's gonna get an A eventually. It's a Marvel show, so I'm always here for it.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm with you guys. I think I gave it a B plus last time. I'm gonna give it a B plus. I may even tip it over into A, because that third episode I really enjoyed, especially the fight scene. And I'm like you guys, give me a little bit more exposition. And I will fully say the other thing that I'm really waiting for and I really want is I can't wait to see her in her full suit. I love the suit reveals. This is how I felt during Daredevil when we finally got the Daredevil suit. You know, this is where I'm at. I was like, give it to me now, because I love a good suit reveal. I love a good suit reveal, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
So her mom's going to wind up making her the suit.
Maybe.
Because her mom made her a suit in the first episode, and she did not like it. So her mom's going to make the suit. That's going to bring them together. Boom, I call it now.
I am here for that.
That's her giving her support of what she's doing too. I like it.
I'm here for that. I love that. Okay, listeners, that's a show. So make sure that you check us out on all of the socials and all that good stuff. And if you have any comments or questions, or if you think we missed something in these episodes, please type it in the comments below. We love to hear from you guys. So I am Miss Geek Page Courtney, and with me is Blythe, Tyler, and Kevin. And remember, guys, keep on geeking on, and we will see you for episode 4 of Miss Marvel next time.
Yay.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.